Propaganda. Welcome to the Mouthpiece, episode 23, year one. Today's guest, Mr. Anthony Scaramucci. We're going to talk about what's been going on in the world this week, along with our pick of the week and our interview with Anthony Scaramucci. So buckle up and stay tuned on the Mouthpiece. All right, everybody, how's it going? This is your favorite poker player, Mike the Mouth. And this week we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to kind of talk about news that's been going on in the week and a little bit into politics. As most of you know, I've been a Trump supporter since the 2016 election. I have wavered a lot on a lot of things that Trump says and does. I am not going to be a person that is going to behold to the MAGA people and just suck Trump's dick about everything he says. But yet I will still remain a supporter as of right now, unless somebody pushes something forward that shows me something different as far as policy-wise. And that's kind of like where I stand right now. As far as what's been going on during the week, first we're going to start off with my poker session. We'll get that out of the way. I told you all I was playing a big game Saturday night, which I did. It was supposed to be 50 and 100, no limit. It ends up being, I thought maybe when they say it's going to be 50, 100, I figured the game would play big, so 100, 200 blinds. So I went half with Helmuth, and we put up 20,000 apiece. And it was about 5 or 10 minutes into the game where I noticed it was now 100, 100, 200, 400. And then it went to 200, 400. And then it went to 2, 400, 800. And I'm sitting there with 40,000 playing like 2, 400, 800, which was insanity. I was stuck 17,000, and then I was up as much as 19,000. And then I got bluffed in a pot where I knew my move was to move in on the turn. And because of the fact that I had 2 9s and the board was king, queen, 10, and he called 5,000 on the flop, I just felt it was Alan Keating. I just felt he didn't have anything, and my gut just said just move in 30,000 here. He can't call, but I elected to check fold, and after that, like, he showed a bluff, like he had like no pair, no draw, and which is fine. I didn't mind the bluff. But I just didn't follow my gut because we were playing so big. I then picked up my chips and left 2,500 winner. And people were like, "Oh, why you quit?" And I'm like, the game's just too big for me, and I just don't feel comfortable. And so I've never been in a poker game where I felt where the game was too big. So I felt like I did the right thing there. I was happy to quit, and I've never once not followed my gut in a hand. I mean, I have many times, but just where I felt like, what if I'm wrong and I lose 30 grand here? And 30 grand to me right now is a lot. So anyways, that was my only poker session that I played this week. And that's kind of what happened. So I was very happy to book a win, 6 hours play, 2,500, whatever it is, what it is. So anyways, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of like what I said I was going to do about what's going on in the world, as far as politically and also in the world. One thing I don't understand is what is going on in Syria. I have yet to figure it out, but I just know when the left is against something and the right is against something, that usually means that what Trump is doing is correct. I know that sounds crazy, but the left is always going to hate on Trump no matter what. And the right is, I really believe that everybody that comes out anti-war or wants to end some kind of conflict in the Middle East, and if Trump brings it on, it's like, you can't do that. I've been saying since the day he got elected, and it's very important for viewers that are listening. When was the only time the left-wing media was happy about Trump's presidency? And the answer is both times when he launched missiles into Syria. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why were they happy he did that? Because war creates money, okay? And they have a $500 billion a year military industrial complex that brings that much money into the U.S. every year. You have the proxy war in Yemen, right, where the U.S. is backing Saudi Arabia, selling hundreds of millions of dollars to Saudi Arabia about this proxy war that's going on in Yemen. Why? Why nowhere on the mainstream media or Fox or any media do you hear what's going on? All these innocent civilians, all these young children being killed in this proxy war in Yemen. You don't hear a peep about it. Why is it? But when Trump pulls our troops out of Syria, which, by the way, was 100 troops, not thousands upon thousands, 100 troops, is there a complete outrage of what's going on in Syria? Okay? I'm going to tell you why. The Turkish people were invading Syria no matter what. They had already told Trump they're doing it. This is what's going to happen. Russia supports Turkey. If he didn't, there was going to be casualties to American troops. So Trump didn't want those 100 American troops or any of those people to get killed. I mean, I haven't figured out what is going on in Syria that they are all up in arms about wanting American troops there so badly. I do know that this is fact. I mean, this is not an opinion. These are facts, okay? Obama, John McCain, when he was alive, I don't, wish anything bad about anybody that passed away. I'm just not like that. They armed the quote-unquote Syrian rebels with American military, okay, with our weapons. Why? Why did they arm those Syrian rebels? And who are the Syrian rebels? Well, the Syrian rebels ended up turning into ISIS, okay? So we armed ISIS. Obama armed ISIS. John McCain, a Republican, armed ISIS. They wanted to take out Assad with a regime change without the U.S. having to take out Assad by ourselves, because I don't know why. Okay, I don't know why they are pushing to take him out. People say, oh, he's a murderous dictator, that's why, or he da-da-da-da-da-da. But if you go out and I actually follow people who live in Syria who say that's not true, and that the U.S. media is feeding us a bunch of horse shit, and it's got all to do with Israel or whatever. Now, listen, I'm all pro-Israel. I'm always going to be pro-Israel. But is there a lot of things the Israeli government does that is wrong? I'm sure there's a lot that the Israeli government does that is wrong. But, I have not actually gone into studying it, which I'm going to start working on shortly. And she insists that it's all about the U.S. working to take out Syria so Israel could take over Syrian land. And maybe it's true. I'm open to what she's hearing. A lot of it sounds more anti-Semite to me on Israel. But, I listen to her. I follow her. I listen to what she says. Her name is, what is it, Partisan Girl or Party, something like that. I think it's Partisan Girl. Somebody retweeted that somebody had followed a video that she put out about what's actually really going on in Syria and how the U.S. media is lying to the American people on what's actually going on there. Now, I do believe the U.S. media is lying to us what's going on there, but I don't know exactly what's going on out there in Syria. when they want to say, well, Trump got all these people killed, all our friends, all our allies killed. Yeah, he did. And but why? You have to ask yourself why. There's a reason. And the amount of our friends or our allies, the Kurds that got killed, was approximately 277. But you never heard of the 500,000 that Obama was responsible to killing in Syria and in Libya. And that's because our media will never talk about that. They'll never talk about the drone strikes that killed hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people in Syria and in Libya. Also going on, about what's been going on this week, and I call it the fake Trump impeachment inquiry, okay? And for those out there listening that don't want to believe this, all you have to do is see how our Constitution works, okay? The House has to pass an impeachment, okay, and they have to find something to impeach him on, and then the Senate has to then pass what they want to impeach him for, okay? First of all, you need 66 senators to vote for Trump's impeachment. That is never going to happen, okay? It's impossible to happen. So for everybody out there with the impeachment dreams, I'm just being honest. It's political theater. It's never going to happen, okay? So you ask yourself, why are Pelosi and them pushing this impeachment inquiry? Well, I hate to say it, as somebody who really supports Trump's policies but can't stand him as a human being, they have nothing to run on. There's no possible way that the left could win with the candidates they are pushing forward and their policies, because the right pushes the fringe on the left policies on their media, and the left pushes the fringe on the right's policies on their media. And that's all just fake news, all bullshit. In the middle is where 90% of the country is. And 90% of the country is not for open borders, okay? Let anybody in from Mexico. They are not for giving illegal immigrants free health care, free everything, okay? And they're not for eliminating fracking on day one. Okay, fracking has made our country the wealthy and the economically where it is today. Okay, there's just nothing, and there's zero proof. Look around. That fracking causes CO2 that hurts the climate. Okay, now as far as CO2 and coal, there is proof that CO2 is somewhat hurting the climate. Now, with that said, based on climate change, there's a whole discussion about that. I don't want to go into a whole detail on whether I believe climate change is real or not. I believe climate change is real. I do not believe that man has caused it and the end of the world is coming if we don't change our world. If you go look at 300 million years ago, this is proof in the ice that the CO2 levels 300 million years ago were 5 times higher than they are today. And that was way before the Industrial Revolution, and that they claim is causing the climate change. Okay, and let's just go out on let's just say what the left and scientists are saying about climate change and it's going to destroy our world or whatever. Let's just say that's all true. Okay, if that happens, I mean, it's not going to change. If India and China do nothing about curbing the CO2 levels, so why should we? You know what I'm saying? Why should our economy and everybody's lives be controlled by the Democrats, whether it's health care, climate change, taking all your money, which was the Paris Climate Accord? From what I've read, it was cost every American family, not a person, approximately $7,000 a year in taxes to be in the Paris Climate Accord, which did absolutely nothing except enrich China and make their economy stronger, and same with India. So you guys need to look a little bit into this. So I'm not saying I'm a climate change denier. I believe the climate is changing, but I am a believer in God. And God said he would never flood the earth again. When, if you believe in Noah's Ark and the big flood that happened millions of years ago. So I just don't believe that. I've been hearing, if you look since 1970, the world's coming to an end. First it was the Ice Age in the 70s and 80s. Then it was climate change and we're burning and everybody's going to cook or whatever. But meanwhile, they said Miami would be underwater by 2014, and it hasn't moved at all. Nothing's changed. The ocean levels haven't changed on Miami Beach. Okay, so I'm a bit skeptical of that, and but that's my own opinion. And I'm not sitting there. Oh, he's a climate. No, I'm not a climate change denier. I'm their agenda they're pushing denier. Why did Greta Thunberg come to the United Nations and condemn 5 nations for polluting the environment? 5 nations that she wanted to be political about. Why did she not mention China and India, the 2 countries responsible for 80% of our carbon release in the air? Why? She's fucking just being brainwashed. Who's ever pushing her agenda? That's why. So that's where my skeptical is on that. Let's talk about this China situation. Okay, I actually had a friend listen to Jason Whitlock, who was actually on Tucker Carlson the other day. And Jason Whitlock, he's a very outspoken, probably black man about my age, 51, whatever. He's really never been politically, as far as like whether he supports Trump, whether whoever he supports, but he came out, against this free speech and this attack by China on the tweet that Daryl Morey put out, which was "We stand with Hong Kong." And for my viewers that don't know politically what's been going on with the Hong Kong protest, I'll kind of let them in what's going on. When our British allies handed Hong Kong over to China in 1997, part of the agreement was a 100-year agreement that the 2 states, China and Hong Kong, would be run by China's laws, which they're communist and control media, control everything you say, and Hong Kong's expression of free speech. Well, China's trying to take over that and not let them be free, let them have free speech, and to shut down. They're trying to take over and govern Hong Kong like they do China. So for people that don't know what's going on with the Hong Kong protest, that's what's going on. And so when Maury happened to put that tweet out, China started tearing down everything pro-NBA in China. And I understand their situation. They're making billions of dollars off the Chinese market. But when Popovich and Kerr have no problem calling out Trump as a racist or the worst president ever and this horrible things, and then they're asked to quote on China, they're like, "Oh, I'm not familiar with what's going on there, so I'm just going to not say anything." Just like LeBron came out this week on China. It's like Daryl Morey was put out a tweet that was uninformed. And I'm just like, uninformed? Are you fucking kidding? And the truth of the matter is he was very informed. But because it takes a big chunk out of LeBron becoming a billionaire, which he wants to be the first billionaire athlete, he wants to come out against Daryl Morey and against America's values. So everything politically that he stood for as far as values and I shut up and dribble, and I'm not going to shut up and dribble. I'm going to be, he wants to be this political figure. Yet when it affected his bottom line, he came out as a fucking complete and utter total hypocrite. And I've lost complete respect for him. Now, as a basketball player and a diehard Laker fan, it puts me in a very precarious spot because I'm such a diehard Laker fan. But it makes it hard for me to like pull for a guy whose interest is his bottom line. Because if he really cared about politically and human rights and everything, he would just take the billions of dollars in loss that he's going to lose and come out and say it. Okay? Same with Popovich, same with fucking Kerr, which is fine. Just come out and say our financial interests are more important than American values, and then shut the fuck up about trying to destroy Trump. That's all. That's my only opinion on that situation. The China situation is a real big learning experience for our country. Like I was saying back to Jason Whitlock, he says the reason why they have to suck up and kiss China's ass is because Nike, which is made in China, basically they own 93% of the shoe market, from the high schools to the college to the NBA. And if they come out against China on this, they lose all the shoe money deals. They lose everything, which is fine. I understand what they're saying. That's all fine. But don't come out against Trump, against our politics, against why sucking up to the Chinese communist regime that have right now over 1 million Muslims in concentration camps, okay, and that have all those people that were protesting in Hong Kong, when they arrest them, they don't get a trial. They don't get put in jail. They shoot them in the fucking head, and that's the end of them, okay? So you want to care about human rights issues, which I deeply care about, and people on the left, quote unquote, believe that, say they deeply care about, then come out and fucking care about them. Don't protect your bottom line interests while trying to destroy our country, you know. And he explains, you know, like that they're literally a slave to Nike, you know. Nike is, you know, I mean, people don't know. I mean, a lot of people listening probably understand that, like, Nike, it costs them like $1 a shoe to make. I mean, they pay the people that are making the shoes like $1 an hour. And most of them, I think it's like 75% of people making shoes there are like women. And if they don't work like 16 hours a day or whatever, they beat them, they rape them, they do whatever they can to make sure they're at the work making shoes. You know, so it's very important to understand what's going on, you know, and when you buy Nike, what you're buying. You know, you're buying people that are terrible human rights and their policies, and they're just, this is what's going on. And so that's why the NBA has to suck up to China. I mean, an American-made country sucking up to China, all because 90% of their income is because of China. Think about that for a second. This is one of the biggest stories of our lifetime. I mean, to me, it's really, really amazing. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, you can listen to the Jason Whitlock interview. You can actually probably Google it. It was on just Google like Tucker Carlson, Jason Whitlock interview on China, and it's a fascinating interview. And he's not a pro-Trump guy, but he just tells it like it is. You know, he just what's going on in the country and why the NBA had to stand up had to just bow down to China. Coming up is our interview with Anthony Scaramucci. I knew that Scaramucci was going to take control of the conversation, and I had so many things that I wanted to say to combat a lot of things he was saying. Like, for instance, I'll give you this. In his book, The Blue Collar President, he writes, Trump is a political antagonist who likes to fight and likes to antagonize the media because it's just what he does. He also writes a lot in his book about Trump being this greatest president. I mean, literally the whole book is about how great a president he is and how much why he's in touch with the American people and how much he's going to help the blue collar workers. And then you kind of get to understand, if you read his book, you know, so many of the pro-Trump stuff he says, and then he goes against, like, so many things that Scaramucci goes raging about anti-Trump he wrote opposite about in his book. And listen, the interview coming up was really good. We got along well. From people I know, say Scaramucci is a good person. That is misunderstood, according to people, Trump supporters. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. You guys can take your view on it. I found his interview as someone who was very jealous that Trump did not retweet his book where he's done everybody else's, which, by the way, I find it repugnant that our president retweets other people's books so that can increase the sale of their book. I mean, I just think it's below the office. So many things he does is so below the office, okay? So, listen, there's going to be a lot of Trump supporters that follow my podcast that are all in on Trump and everything he says, can't do no wrong. I just think that that's just not the correct way in politics, which is why I have never, up until this week, come out formally against a lot of things that Trump has said and done. I know what kind of person Trump is, okay? And the reason why I have not really come out and said it is because can you vote for a despicable person that puts policies forward that helps the American people? Or can you vote for somebody on the left that has no policy? I'm still waiting. I want people that listen to the podcast to call in, leave a voicemail on the podcast, leave a text message on the podcast, whatever, to tell me what policies these people that are pushing forward that are going to help the American people. Ask yourself this. We as poker players, most people listen to as poker players, we don't live in the real world. We play poker, we take off, we play when we want, we don't play when we want, we travel when we want. You know, we know how tough poker is. It ain't an easy lifestyle or whatever, but we're not in the real world. We're not in the world of 9 to 5 people that are working 2 jobs, people that are working just to put food on the table. Our founding fathers didn't have Democrats and Republicans to divide us. They had Democrats and Republicans to come up with different ideas to push the country forward. And right now, we don't have that. We have gridlock. Why do we have gridlock? Why has there been gridlock for, 20 years now? Because this is how they get people to vote, to go out and vote against a certain person or for a certain person. Look what it did between me and Daniel's relationship for 3 years. You know, at least now we're able to talk and communicate. It's great to have different ideas. There's plenty of people on the left that I'm great friends with, and I listen, okay? It's very important to listen and debate different ideas. But what's going on now is they're trying to shut down political speech on each side of the aisle to make sure to brainwash you to be on their side. And that's not what our founding fathers, were looking for. So if there's going to ever be a political revolution, you know what I say? It shouldn't be against the left or the right. It should be against both medias. It's the media, the corrupt medias in our country. And I know a lot of people say, oh, Mike, you're fucking know better, man. You know how evil the left-wing media is and how they make up shit. Yeah, they do. They are fucking evil and they make up shit. But try and separate your love of Trump or your right-wing values. You'll find so much propaganda on the right. I mean, I point it out to my girl every time. So, it's on both sides. It's just, so it's very, very important to try and find the truth of what's going on. And I watched the debate the other night. Okay, they let it off with impeachment. This is not what's going to get you elected. When are you going to come out, people, Democrats, people on the left, and say, what are you going to do for the 9-to-5 workers every single day that's going to make their lives better? What kind of policies are you going to put forward to make their lives better? And the Democrats are pushing no policies forward. Say what you want. You listen to Trump rallies, you listen to what he says. He's consistently pushing policies forward that he believes makes America a better place. Is he a fucking piece of shit? I think he is. I mean, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to support him over somebody else that doesn't have any policies that's going to help the American people. And that's why when my book comes out, Poker, Pain, and Politics, you'll understand a little bit more of why I've taken a more of a pro-Trump stance than the other side. So, with that said, there's a lot of things coming up in the Scaramucci interview that, you guys will take for yourself. Is Scaramucci a person who's telling the truth about what he's saying, or is he an angry, bitter person that hated the fact that Trump didn't retweet his book and that Trump called out his wife for being crazy? To me, it sounds like hatred, but also I do agree with the points that he comes across. A lot of things that comes across. And the number one thing I do agree with him in the interview coming up is the fact that no American president should ever say anything negative about a civilian American person. So I hope you enjoy the interview with Mr. Anthony the Mooch Scaramucci. So, even though we had a lot of political discussion this week, you know me, I'm all about sports. And as always, we have now officially gotten our pick of the week record up to 3-3, which is 500. And for me, as you know, that's like winning. This week's pick of the week was tough. There's so many tough lines out there, and I really didn't know which way to go. So I was leaning a lot towards Oakland coming off 10-day rest, getting 5.5 against a beat-up Green Bay team. But it is a Oakland team that is on the road, and including being in London and then going all the way back to the West Coast, then flying all the way back to Green Bay, Wisconsin for the early game. And so I just, over the years, a West Coast team traveling regularly from the early games has been 73% against. A team that has traveled all those miles, you would normally be against, but Green Bay is completely beat up. I mean, decimated by injuries. So I'm going to pass on that and go with my pick of the week. Da-dun-dun-da-dun. Brought to you by mybookie.ag. So if you want to go out, you get as much as a 200% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Visit mybookie.ag, promo code Mouthpiece. That's mybookie.ag, promo code Mouthpiece. All you degens out there want to put some money down, bet some sports, play on some what's it called, slots or table games. mybookie.ag, promo code Mouthpiece for a 200% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Anyways, my pick of the week is going to be the Detroit Lions. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Why do you ask? Why do you think I'm going with the Detroit Lions? Well, they are on a short week coming off a brutal loss to Green Bay. And I think they are a really good football team. Minnesota has been awful, dreadful on the road. It's a must-win game for Detroit. I think they're much better than their 2-2-1 record suggests. Matter of fact, they could easily be 5-1, if not 6-0. I think they're a very good team. Minnesota coming off a thrashing of Philadelphia, a beat-up Philadelphia team, and I think the public in this line is based on public perception, and I'm going to go ahead and take the Detroit Lions as my pick of the week, plus a half a point. So, let's see what happens there.
The Mouthpiece.
If you'd like to take part in our phone call segment, you can give us a call at 702-329-0480. And if you're a snowflake or a pussy and you don't want to talk to me, you can email me at mouthpiecepodcast@gmail.com. Also, follow me at the Mouth Matusow on Twitter for times that our call-in segment will be live.
Okay, everyone, it's time for our phone call segment. Let's see what our fans have to say today, so let's light up the lines.
Welcome to the Mouthpiece. This is Mike. Who's this?
What's up, Mike? This is Frank from Georgia. How you doing?
Good, buddy. How are you?
No use complaining, man. Good talking to you. I'm a big fan of the show, bro. I've just actually, like maybe a couple weeks ago, started watching it and basically got caught up on every episode.
Oh, cool, man.
Really fun, man. I was actually, just before I called, I was watching the episode of you with Greg Raymer, and you were talking about, like, antics when the cameras are on and shit.
Right.
And I think that's, like, you know, if people have a facade and stuff, I like, you know, authenticity and stuff. And I share a lot of political, you know, views with you and everything, right, too. And everyone's so afraid of being a fucking, you know, offending a snowflake nowadays. Right. It's like you can't even fucking have an opinion.
Yeah, it's true.
There's so much political bias to where, like, if you even, you know, entertain someone's conversation on the other side, you're like a black sheep now. You know what I'm saying? People, a lot of people just fucking blindly believe shit just because someone says it and don't do any fact checking also, and that's what pisses me off about a lot of politics.
Yeah, it's true.
Because it's all fucking organized crime, man. It's all about who could line their pockets more and, you know, say some good political bullshit.
Exactly.
I think Brian Hastings did something like that a while ago, to where he had some exposed emails. He's like, say some, you know, good mumbo jumbo bullshit out there and make yourself look good. What did he say? Anyway.
You know, listen, I know it's personal with Mooch. I always knew it was personal with Mooch. And listening to him really confirmed how personal it really is. Now, is there a lot of things he says that validate a lot of things that I don't like about Trump? Sure. Okay. But like I said to him, I can't call out Trump every time he does something bad because the media is busy calling him out for 80% of the time when he doesn't do anything wrong. So
that's fucking ridiculous, dude. I got to tell you something. So I just started getting into politics like a year ago.
Yeah.
And so I was I didn't know anything about, like, you know, left or right or whatever.
Neither did I. In 2015, I didn't have any idea. Yeah.
So I would check CNN, and then I would go to Fox or whatever. So I remember being on CNN.com one time, and breaking news, like up at the top in bold letters, Trump says something in a tweet. And then I'll never forget, up underneath it, it said like 28 children dead in school bus crash in Malaysia or something. Trump's tweet is more important than these dead children? Like, what the fuck's your problem?
Exactly. And the thing is if you look at the leaked media from Project Veritas yesterday, where the president of CNN actually, with undercover video and microphone, is in a meeting talking about, I want a Trump impeachment 24/7. No news goes in front of this. This is all about destroying Trump. I mean, we already knew they had bias, okay? But, I mean, now the American people could hear what people on Trump supporters already know. And the thing is listen, I'm friends with a lot of people, and now a lot of people in the poker world, you know, they know how honest I am or whatever. I'm looking for the truth. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to listen.
Definitely, man.
You know,
hey, if you don't mind, do you mind if I ask you, like, a poker-related question?
Sure, go ahead.
If you don't mind airing it?
Sure.
I was gonna, like, I started basically in like 02, 03, you know, in the moneymaker boom and whatnot stuff. We played online for a lot, and you know, had some really good success. Ended up, my brother was actually picked up by what's it, the guy that got busted aces versus aces in the one drop.
Oh, Conor Drennan?
Yeah, Connor Drennan was his stake horse playing tournaments online on Stars. His name was Gypsy Chris, and had some really good success and whatnot. But I was going to say, like, how much the dynamic has changed from back then to now. I remember reading a book by T.J. Cloutier and talking about 3 and 4 betting, and he's like, if someone 4 bets you, you should probably fold kings because they most likely have aces.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, Jesus, if you try to employ that strategy now, you're just going to be so fucked. But like,
believe it or not, it's actually starting to spin back that way.
I know what you mean for absolutely, because a lot of the people that were like 4 and 5 betting are broke now and not really into the limelight anymore.
Okay, because back in the day, when we would 3-bet somebody or 4-bet somebody, it was always a chip tell or a visual tell we'd pick up on, and we'd study that person, we'd follow the read, and we'd go with it. And then when the internet boom and stuff happened, because of the 15-minute blinds in tournaments online, you have to basically blind 3-bet, 4-bet people, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. You're just looking for spots, and someone opens, and then the button calls. You're looking for squeeze in a situation depending on stack sizes.
Correct.
Where you could 4-bet in this spot, and it'd be profitable.
And that's what it's gone back to now. You know what I'm saying? Very few people.
Back then, what taught us a lot was the Harrington on Hold'em. Like, he did a series, and I thought those were the best books ever written, in my opinion, especially for the time, what was available.
Right. No,
and what I was going to say, man, you should write a mixed game book, man, because there's literally nothing out that I've seen
I'm opening a mixed game teaching site. Going to be on Split Games, because I do believe I'm the best Omaha 8 or better player in the world. And I know in tournament stud 8, I am not far behind. Me being the only one in history that's ever won both championships, and I've been I don't even know how many final tables in each. So I originally wasn't going to do this. I was going to
ask you that. I've always heard people say, you being regarded as one of the best 08 players. As far as horse and stuff, man, with the results that Hennigan has done lately, I used to be in the pool world for a while, so I knew Johnny World as a pool player. I had no idea that, from his results in the last few years, he has to, be one of the best horse players or mixed game players in the world.
He's been, since I got into poker in '97, Hennigan, minus his problems he had with some substance abuse, which he's fixed, which I'm so proud of him for.
It happens a lot, yeah.
He was like the best player in the world back then, and now he's playing at that level again, and I couldn't be more proud of him.
Who would be your top 5?
It just, it depends. If you want to go best all-around poker player in the world, as in tournaments and cash, or do you want to go best tournament no-limit player? Do you want to go cash game no-limit player?
If you have to go best mixed game player, because, I think that's where a lot of you're able to make so much money. Like, it's more profitable playing mixed games nowadays than it is playing no-limit, because everyone knows what they're doing in no-limit and high-stakes games.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go on the limb with somebody who is kind of controversial, how he acts at the table and stuff. A lot of people don't like it, but you can't underestimate his raw talent. And I get along fine with him, and I'll go ahead and say 2019 Hall of Famer David Oppenheim.
Right.
That's my opinion.
The media doesn't really, if you just watch ESPN and stuff, a lot of people don't know much about him because he's not really big into tournaments and stuff. But as far as cash, I always hear his name being brought up as one of the best.
I 100% believe he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame in front of me? Well, that's for
if you think about what each individual has done for poker,
Correct.
It should be, hats down you instead of him.
Exactly. And these are one of the things, and the Hall of Fame is very political. We've talked about it on many other podcasts, and it is what it is. I know I'll get in the Hall of Fame. I'm not worried about that. The fact is, my dad was real sick.
Tom McAvoy made it before you. How does that feel?
Exactly. And the fact that my dad was real sick from December to April this year, and he's doing better now, but I don't know how much longer he's going to be around, and we'll be lucky, God willing, he makes it a couple more years, but I just want to get in while he's alive, and that's more or less where my a lot of my venom towards it comes, because I don't want to be like sure. Matt Savage. Matt Savage, we know that Matt's going to get in the Hall of Fame too, but his dad was sick and he wanted to be put in while his dad was still alive, and it didn't happen, and he's upset
it's
about it.
Bittersweet when you get it after that.
He's very upset about it, and he holds a few people accountable for it, and I can understand where he's coming from because I'm in the same boat. So, that's that. I appreciate the call. Tell all your friends.
Definitely, man. Hey, it was nice talking to you. Best of luck with your dad and everything. What's his name? I'll keep him in prayer.
Oh, my dad, Bernie Matusow. He's doing much better, but I appreciate it so much.
Bernie, for sure. All right, cool, man. Well, hey, good luck with everything, bro. And I'm a big fan of the show, and we'll keep watching.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Take care. Later.
Take care. Bye.
The Mouthpiece.
Okay, everybody. So we've got ourselves our first sponsor on this show. Their name is MyBookie, and they're a very reputable company. They have blackjack, craps, roulette. They have all kinds of other casino games, as well as tons of sports betting for all you degenerates out there. So do me a favor. You're listening to the show. Go visit mybookie.ag. Put in the promo code Mouthpiece. That's mybookie.ag. Promo code Mouthpiece. And you get up to a 200% bonus up to $1,000. So you spin, you win, get paid only at MyBookie. Up to $1,000 bonus. That's MyBookie. Enter promo code Mouthpiece. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it, and I appreciate them supporting the show. Welcome to the Mouthpiece. Today's guest, Mr. Anthony Scaramucci. How's it going, Anthony?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you? It's good to be on the phone with the Mouth.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah. People sending me emails. The Mouth and the Mooch. That should be a real interesting interview. Well,
two big mouths, probably, right?
Yeah, very true. Very true. I'll kind of give you a little idea of myself. I'm a professional poker player. My whole life has revolved around poker. I got sick in 2014. I was kind of bedridden to 2015, in which I was forced to kind of pick a candidate, and I did this questionnaire. Trump came up as my candidate. I knew nothing about politics at the time, so I supported him, and I still do. But with that said, I listened to you go on, I don't know, their normal tweets, crazy tweets, or I don't know the entire backstory. I've read your book. I think it was a fantastic book, but let's just start off. I mean, is your book fact or fiction, or is just things change?
Well, tell me. Well, since you read the book, and I appreciate you reading it, right. It could be you and my mom are the only two people that have actually read it.
Right.
So since you read the book, when you say fact or fiction, it was an honest account of the campaign. It was an objective opinion of the president. I talked about the things I liked about him in the book. I also talked about the things that worried me. One was the argument he was having with the free press and calling the press the enemy of the people. Mm-hmm. And so, he didn't like the book. He didn't tweet out about the book or support the book. So in my mind, it was a balanced, objective book. I definitely suggested in the book that he was, in my mind, going to be a champion for the middle class and for the lower class. Mm-hmm. And what I point out in the book, there was a vacuum of advocacy for those people from the establishment over the last 3 decades. So,
right.
So all those things I said, but unfortunately we have 3 years of data. Mm-hmm. The book was written 18 months ago. There's 3 years of data.
Okay.
And a lot of the stuff that he promised, really, he has not delivered on. Mm-hmm. And as an American entrepreneur, I'm not a politician, so as an American entrepreneur, you look at a situation, you analyze the content, the style, the character of the leader. I own a ton of different companies in the private equity space. When somebody sucks at their job, let's say they suck at poker and they're on your poker team, you got to get rid of the person. It's just really that simple. It's not about flip-flopping. It's not about anything other than a objective, quantitative, and qualitative assessment of what is going on and the disaster that he is creating for the United States around the world. So he's dismantled and ruptured most of our global alliance. He is trying to bring down and destroy the international trading system. He's botched the entire bilateral trade agreement with the Chinese. His content and style as it relates to his racist and racially charged rhetoric is off the charts. He's got 60% of the American people disliking him in terms of his approval rating, and he's got about 80% of the world disliking him. He could be one of the most unpopular, most hated people in the world. All of that notwithstanding, the Mouth, for 2 years after I was fired, I didn't take it personally, no big deal. I've always been accountable about my firing. You read my book,
right?
So you know that I don't blame anybody for my firing other than myself.
Right.
For 2 years, I tried to support the man. I said, hey, don't look at this bad behavior. Don't look at this bad policy. Don't look at this racist rhetoric. Let's focus on the good that he's doing.
Right.
And now, after 2 years of doing that, I said, hey, look, it's impossible now at this point. There's just too much stuff on the other side of the ledger. The liability side of the ledger is far outweighing the assets. So, and by the way, you know, all that's fine. He can attack me. Don't care. Don't go after my wife.
Right.
Okay, I'm an Italian kid from Long Island.
Of
I'm not Ted Cruz. I'm not Jeb Bush. Do not go after my wife. Okay, so this guy decided he was going to go after my wife on his Twitter account. She's a suburban housewife raising two young kids in Manhasset, Long Island. Who the hell does he think he is? Okay, and so I'm going to keep punching until he goes through the ropes. Okay, and he will go through the ropes because he's a very dishonest, traitorous sort of a person, and he's broken the law, so he'll go through the ropes. Okay,
but don't you feel that you're dividing the country up more by nonstop?
I'm sorry?
Do you feel like you're being more divisive by the nonstop onslaught on him?
No, not at all. We've got to get rid of him so that we can unite the country. You're never going to have a united country with this man at the helm.
Okay.
He's a very weak leader. He's a very weak president. He's been ruled now by 5 different dictators in 5 different parts of the world. The Congress hates his guts. Okay, that would include the Republicans and the Democrats in the Congress, and so therefore they won't do anything. You have total and complete immobility inside the legislative structure of the United States. So you've got no legislative things done this year. You got 2 done since his term started. He's a universally disrespected, universally hated guy in Washington. Okay. The other thing he's doing is he's an unbelievable full-blown liar. Okay. I'm sorry, what's that?
We knew that. Isn't that what he ran on? To disrupt the Washington establishment, to basically go in and cause disruption, and that's why they all hate him.
I was there.
I know.
I was there. He ran on a post-partisan message. He ran on, yes, I'm going to disrupt it, but I'm going to try to bring the 2 parties together on polarized issues like guns, immigration.
But he tries, and they won't let him, though.
Okay.
Like, he's tried.
Okay, so tell me how it's your podcast.
Right.
So you tell me how he's tried.
Well, like everything has been since day one, and you've been there. So I know you're a really smart guy, and you'll agree with me here. Since day one of his inauguration, they said, we are going to impeach this president. And the news has attacked him with the fake Russia hoax for 2.5 years. And even you knew that was fake. And then they start attacking. So you guys are both New Yorkers. You guys punch back, just like you're doing now. And I'm just wondering, is it fair that here's the reason why I say this. I have refrained from calling him out on so many things that I hate that he does. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about too. Because of the fact that the media just piles on, just makes up so much stuff. I've watched Trump rallies, and then I go to CNN and I watch them how they spin it in the things he had never said. So that's my take on the situation.
Okay, well let's take one point at a time. Point number 1 on the Russia situation. I said openly and repeatedly that the president can't even collude with his own staff. How the hell is he going to collude with the Russians? So I totally agree with you on that. However, okay, the intelligence agencies have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the Russians were meddling in our election. Okay, beyond a reasonable doubt, they were meddling in our election. And so when he denounced the intelligence agencies in Helsinki, okay, I did speak out against that. I think that's a very bad strategy for the President of the United States.
Yeah, it looked terrible. I was against that, too.
Okay. So I guess you'd have to agree with me on that, okay?
Right.
Second thing, which is, and I'm telling you, a presidential historian is going to look back on this and say, okay, this was the moment that he lost his leadership. He lost the mantle of his leadership. And you'll say it's a ridiculous thing, but I'm telling you, it's a very meaningful thing. Mm-hmm. When he was lying about the weather, and he took the Sharpie out, and he moved the weather pattern and the hurricane into the region that touched Alabama, the intelligence agencies, the Defense Department, and the people that actually have to run the administrative processes of the executive branch in Washington looked at that, and that was a glaring red light. That was a glaring red line being crossed by him where they said, okay, this guy really, really cannot be trusted. This guy is not a guy that's going to meet any foxhole test for any of us.
So
okay, then he disavows our, let's go over what he's doing. He's tweeting about President Xi. He says that President Xi and our Federal Reserve Chairman, who he appointed, are enemies of the United States. Who is a bigger enemy? He then lies about a phone call 4 days later with the Chinese to get the market rally, okay, which is obviously an illicit thing to do, but he does it anyway. Then he lies about the weather.
Okay. Well,
so
with the weather thing,
talking about that's a 96-hour period of time.
Yeah. Did you see
the weather thing? Good. The weather thing killed him, by the way.
Right.
Okay,
but did you see the CNN?
They're looking at him saying, okay, he's whacked. We got to get rid of this guy.
But did you see the CNN video?
The whistleblower came out 2 weeks after the weather thing.
Did you see the CNN video where 3 days before the storm was to hit, where the CNN guys are on there saying it might reach as far as Alabama? So, he watches all the news. So he saw that, and then he just repeated that.
I'm not, okay,
you see what I'm saying?
Understand something. The 5 minutes later, it could have been a tragic situation on the mainland of the United States, similar to what it was in Abaco, the Bahamas. And so when he tweeted that out, the National Weather Service then said, no, the storm area is not going to hit Alabama. I'll accept and I'll cede to you, he may have seen that. Okay. But the point is he's not willing to get to a microphone and say, hey, I saw something on CNN that said it was hitting Alabama. Right. The National Weather Service just said it's not going to hit Alabama. Right. So I just want to reiterate that the National Weather Service is correct. It's not going to hit Alabama. You can't have the commander-in-chief, who's in charge of the world's most powerful military, that batshit crazy. Are you allowed to say batshit crazy on your podcast?
You can say fuck. You can say whatever you want.
The guy is that. I don't want to say the F-bomb because I'm already getting yelled at by my wife. But I'm going to say that the guy is completely batshit crazy. Everybody knows that he's crazy, and he can't keep a workforce together. He's incapable of managing anything. He's asymmetrically disloyal to his employees. He is a modern day Inca, Mouth. You know what a modern day Inca is?
No.
He has a personal volcano of self-loathing and hatred, and he wants to throw his personnel into that volcano. He takes a guy like Rex Tillerson, who was a superstar in life, throws him into that volcano because of his own self-hatred. Throws John Kelly into the volcano. Throws Jim Mattis into the volcano.
We know that.
Throws John Bolton into the volcano. He's a disgusting guy. Okay, and by the way, we didn't touch on this enough. He went after my wife on Twitter. Okay, and so you've got a pretty cool podcast. You got a lot of people following your podcast. So I'm gonna say to your listeners, I want you to imagine a scenario where the President of the United States is attacking one of your civilian family members. I want to imagine anybody out there that is a Trump supporter and say, okay, yeah, that's good by me. No, that's not good by me. Okay, I'm not Ted Cruz. I'm not Jeb Bush. I'm an Italian kid from Long Island that started with nothing, and I'm going to keep punching until he goes right through the ropes. And he's going through those ropes because he's a very, very bad, traitorous human being.
But here's a question to me.
He disavowed the Constitution. He broke his oath of office. Okay, forget about what he did with the Kurds. I'm sure he's on the take there. I'm sure he's been bribed by somebody because he has no value.
Anthony, I want you to hear me for a second. And I'm going to relate a little bit of this towards what you wrote.
By the way, I didn't have enough
book.
Caffeine today, so I'm a little bit under-energized.
Under-energized? Oh, my God. I can't even imagine when you're energized.
I'm not passionate enough about save the country and to unite the country. I'm not passionate enough.
Here's
sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to rebut a little bit of that, and I want you to rebut me when I say this. Okay? In your book, you talk about how Obama destroyed the country with his policies and all the things he did. Now, think about this for a second. We talk about things that are like racial or how he's divisive. Yes, there's a lot of things I find very divisive, I hate. But you have to look at it also. All the politicians do these things. Obama and Hillary, during the election cycle, and this is when I really grew more strong support for Trump, was they've kept throwing the false narrative out of when a unarmed black person gets killed, it's happening every day, and then they tweet it out, and the next thing you know, 5 officers were assassinated in Dallas. Okay? That's stoking fear to get the black vote. It's actually way worse because people actually died. So when I hear you say what you're saying, I could easily say, well, look what Obama did. Look how all these other politicians do. And I just think it's just unfair to the guy that's getting smashed by the media every day to just, to all of a sudden say what you say after as early as July 3rd, you were talking about his reelection, how the biggest landslide in history, and then a month later.
I maintain that. I maintain that if they put Elizabeth Warren up, if he survives the impeachment inquiry and he's not kicked out of office, which I predict he will now, I said in July, and I maintain this. Okay, if he is the nominee for the Republican, I'm sorry.
I do remember you saying that. I was listening.
Yeah. If he is the nominee for the Republican Party, and they put up Elizabeth Warren, he will win by a 40-state landslide.
Absolutely.
I said that on July 3rd. I maintain that today in late October, mid-October. Okay, so
we're on the same page there.
I'm not disavowing that.
Yeah.
But what I also said though on August 11th to Jonathan Swan that unfortunately the president has too many demons. He's a very self-destructive, self-loathing person. He has the self-esteem of a small pigeon. There's no way that a guy with high self-esteem would go after a suburban housewife that's never done anything to him on his Twitter feed. There's no way anybody with any level of self-esteem or self-like would do something like that. So he is a very self-destructive human being. And unfortunately, what I said on July 3rd is not going to come to pass because of his personality and his nature. He is Trump noble. He's having a full-blown psychological meltdown as we speak. You can go back to the Axios article in August where I said he's melting down at the core. The Republicans know this, and it's like the HBO series. They're trying to figure out now if they can cover it up and limp across the finish line, or are they going to have to clean it up? And it turns out that they're going to have to clean it up because he is a criminal.
But here's the thing.
He is an illegal human being that has done illicit things, and he's disavowed the Constitution. So as this unfolds, and by the way, we've only gotten the tip of the iceberg, okay?
Right.
When the American public knows what I know, and it has been confirmed as fact, he's leaving. Now, how is he leaving? He's either resigning or they're going to say to him, okay, look, you can't run again. We're going to try to get you a pardon for the nonsense that you pulled, but you can't run again. It's one or the other, okay? Right. And I maintain that. But look, I'm a money manager. I get a lot of things wrong in my life. If somehow he manages to survive all this, and they put up Elizabeth Warren, he will beat Elizabeth Warren.
Absolutely.
And then you're going to invite me back on your podcast. You're going to invite me back on your podcast and say, look, now you got a crazy person for another 4.5 years, alone in the White House, seeking nobody's counsel, tweeting bizarre nonsense, botching strategy, can't implement a policy, doesn't listen to any of his trade advisors, won't listen to his national security team.
These are things
that out his habit.
Okay, these are things that
going on for 4.5 years, my man.
There's a difference. I like to say it. There's a difference between Trump supporters and MAGA. MAGA are people that will listen to anything that Trump says as fact. Trump supporters are kind of trying to support the president, but they also have a lot of bad things to say about him. And you could do both, and then you have to ask yourself, if he has 94% in the Republican Party
that's
favorability.
A bullshit number. Come on. He's got a 70. Look, he's got a great.
I disagree.
Number, okay, he's got a 71% approval rate. That is a phenomenal number. He does not have a 94% approval rating. That's the bullshit that he's putting out on Twitter.
There's a lot of politics, but I go to polls.
Verify. So let's not argue that because he has a great number with the Republican base.
Right.
No question about that. And that's the main reason why the fraidy cat Republicans that know he's batshit crazy, and they, as fiduciaries of the United States, they know they need to remove him because he's morally bereft, he's a criminal, and he's batshit crazy.
But listen,
they won't move because they're fraidy cats because of that number that you just espoused.
The thing is when you put facts behind it, I will agree with you. But what you could just say, he's a criminal, he's this, he's that. I mean, that's just left wing talking points. You know,
let me put the
I want to hear.
Put the facts behind it.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so when you are asking for a quid pro quo, and you've now had 3 ambassadors and Fiona Hill and Ambassador Sondland, and you've now had the text messages, and you now have context to the story, and you've got John Bolton and others that are confirming the allegations that the whistleblower elucidated, and you're confirming this, and now you're going to go into impeachment inquiry, and yes, he has the opportunity to rebut it. Okay, but
they won't let him. They won't let him. What's with that?
I've got an insight. Well, hold on a second. Of course they're going to let him. Of course they're going to let him.
Okay.
But I have an inside track on the facts. Okay, and I have an inside track on what they did in terms of trying to cover it up by moving it into the private server. All of this broke the laws of the United States. When you break the laws of the United States, definitionally, you're a criminal. Okay, so now you're going to say to me, well, he's innocent until he's proven guilty. Okay, but we're having a political discussion.
Right.
Okay, and so I'm looking at it. I know the nature of the personality. I worked for the person for a year. Forget about the 11 days in the White House. And I know what he's capable of. And it's a sorry state of affairs for the United States. And he's a full-blown criminal. So I am backing it up with facts. But I got more facts.
I want to ask you about certain things.
No, because I got more facts though about the criminality. If you want to hear more facts,
I would. If you had more time, I would talk. I would love to talk for like an hour and a half on this. But you said you only have till 10:30.
Yeah.
So I want to.
Yeah. So go ahead. Let's keep
touch
going.
a couple of things. Okay. First, I'm going to go on a limb and say, me and my girlfriend were huge fans of yours. We hated what was going on in the Trump White House at the beginning. When you got the communications job, we were yelling. We were like, "Fuck, Scaramucci's going to fuck them up. Fuck those fucking leakers." And then, unfortunately, now that you know how slimy Washington is, person you knew for 50 years or whatever it was, goes behind your back, records that conversation, and you took responsibility for that.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Just like I took responsibility for it, but I did fire 2 of the biggest leakers. I got Bannon and Priebus out of there,
and we know Bannon was a leaker. That I know.
I was trying to help President Trump, but what you should tell your girlfriend is, I would like to think if your girlfriend was viciously attacked by President Trump on Twitter because of your mouth and you being the mouth, I would like to think that your girlfriend would be like, hey, who the fuck is this asshole attacking me on Twitter? Okay. Who the fuck is he?
But here's the question I would
think that, okay?
I will.
But
and I want to ask you one more question.
Just
very important.
Hey, if Trump was attacking you on Twitter, what would you like me to do? Would you like me to wear a MAGA hat after he attacked you on Twitter, honey? Tell me what you'd like me to do.
I agree with you. But with all fairness, because I watch a lot of left-wing media as well as right-wing media, because I'm always looking for the truth. I'm not a partisan. I'm the type of person that want to bring different people from left-wing perspective, people who hate Trump, people who like Trump. I've had business people come in and say how much their businesses thrive from Trump presidency. So when I was listening to the Bill Maher show the night you were on, and I said to myself, why did Mooch just attack Trump and agree with the liberal narrative of him being racist against the congresswomen of color, which was a total lie? Because
that's not a total lie. He's a full-blown racist. Okay, no, hold on a sec. Hold on a second. Okay. I'm an Italian-American.
Right.
I'm an Italian-American. We just celebrated Columbus Day.
Right.
Okay, a nativist racist trope for 150 years is to tell people to go back to the countries that they came from.
Okay.
And so since you were watching Bill Maher, I was literally defending President Trump on that television show.
Right, you were.
And then she said, well, what about the racism?
Right.
I said, I'm sorry, I cannot defend the racism.
Okay.
I have an Italian-American grandmother that used to cry at age 66 before she died about racist nativist Americans telling her to go back to the country that she came from.
Okay.
She produced 3 children. One was my mom. 2 served in World War II. One was decorated as a result of being wounded on Normandy Beach.
Okay.
Should she have gone back to the country that she came from now?
But that's not what he says in the tweet. That's the thing. This is what this is the problem I've had.
That's what he said.
Is that I'm reading the tweet right
that's
here.
That's what he says. See,
it says
this is what happens with Trump, because he's a gaslighter, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
He shadow micro sentences, and he parses and splits participles. So there's something in there for everybody. But I know the son of a bitch personally.
But
I know what he's like, and I know what he's capable of. And he's the leader of the free world. Don't be telling people to go back to the country that they came from, and you're going to read it, and you're going to try to prove to me that he didn't fucking say it.
Well, But
let me fucking tell you something, okay? He said it, okay? You're the leader of the free world, and you got to unite the country. You can't divide the country.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that,
the name of the country's
Anthony.
first name is United.
Just listen to me for 1 second.
I'm going to act like a racist nativist in the Oval Office. I'm going to attack you on Twitter, and then I'm going to go after your wife. Okay, no problem. I know you're a lawless son of a bitch, so we're going to get you knocked out of office, which we're in the process of doing.
Anthony,
no
listen.
Problem.
I just want to read this to you,
go ahead.
Okay? Because it's very important to me. Because when I had already read the tweet when I heard you, and you did defend him, and I do agree with you that 11 out of 13 things when you defend the guy isn't good enough, and I felt exactly where you felt from that perspective, but. When you go on there and say, because I read the tweet.
So, Michael,
okay.
He said they originally came. 3 of them were born in the United States of America. Were you born in the United States of America?
But he was saying...
I was born in the United States. No, I have a birthright citizenship. Trump wants to take that away because he's a fascist.
Okay.
But I'm born in the United States of America. That de facto, prima facie, makes me an American citizen. 3 of the people that he's referencing in the racist tweet are born in the United States. So what is he talking about?
Well,
originally come from? Where did they originally come from? Where did he originally come from? Wasn't he born in the United States? They were born here. So is he talking about the government of the United States when he's talking about that? What are you talking about?
Well, this is what it is. Okay, now you know this through politics. I didn't know it 4 years ago. I know it now. On the left, they reach out to the fringe and they try and paint the president with the fringe. On the right, they reach out to the fringe and they try and paint the left as the fringe. We know that AOC plus 3 don't represent the Democrats, as well as we know that white supremacist is not represented by Trump. Okay?
Of course.
And so what he is trying to do, and Ilhan Omar, coming from Matt Brooks, who says you're a big friend of his and you're a very big supporter of Israel. You've seen the tweets these people have put out.
Totally.
And so all he's doing.
I totally find the tweets reprehensible. As it relates to the members of the squad, I feel that they are intellectually and ideologically wrong.
Okay.
And I'm willing to challenge and debate them in the free marketplace of ideas. I don't need them since 3 of them were born here. 1 was naturalized as a citizen. All 4 were democratically elected to our Congress.
Right.
I don't need them to go anywhere. I need to have a podium up against their podium, and I need to debate with them in the free marketplace of ideas to prove to the American people how wrong they are.
Right.
Okay, that's America.
I agree with you.
That's America.
100% agree with you, but
I don't like what you're saying or like how you look. Go back to the country that you came from.
Yeah, but
That's
it has nothing.
racism,
It's
my
not.
brother.
It's not looks, man.
You know,
Come on. He
he's
says
not
it.
even-
He
he's so much
says
worse
shit
than
to
a
you.
racist.
He
He's
says
such a
shit to.
narcissist. I mean, he treats people like objects. It's not even the fact.
Well, I
he's
hate
racist.
that,
He's
and
an
I'm on your
objectifier.
side with this. When I voted for him and I became a Trump supporter, I was 100% convinced he would unite the country way more than Hillary Clinton
Me
would
too.
have. And you know what?
Yeah, me too.
I
mean,
won't take. I won't take my vote
Trump
back.
was-
I know how
you were
bad
also
she is.
You were going up against Hillary Clinton, and the
Right.
mistake that the Democrats could make is Hillary Clinton too will be Elizabeth Warren.
Agree with you,
Okay,
100%.
but this guy is a disaster. I got to go in a second, but I just
Yeah.
want to make this point. He can't manage a process. He can't keep a staff.
Listen,
He can't define a problem.
if,
Okay, this guy is an unmitigated disaster. He is going to put the country into a national and international crisis. And let me tell you something else, okay, because I travel all over the world with the American military. I have been to Iraq and Afghanistan.
right,
I have been on the border up by the Golan Heights with Matt Brooks, okay, observing southern Syria.
Mhm.
Okay, the United States has been a force for good for 75 years. If you retract and withdraw our military from certain areas, you will cause internecine tribal warfare and internecine conflict.
well, this is
that
what
takes
that's what
place,
Obama did with Libya.
We're going to be back
you
in
know?
a world war.
Yeah,
We're
well,
back in a world war. He doesn't understand that. He can't quantify it. He doesn't have the intellectual depth or the historical knowledge or the historical context to even understand the conversation that you and I are having right now. I'm going to quote from you from Thomas Hobbes. Okay, Thomas Hobbes in 1650 said that the world has its greatest level of peace when there is one hegemon that suppresses the internecine tribal conflicts. Pax Romana, Pax Britannia.
right.
The United States has had that mantle of leadership for 75 years, and it has worked, and it has been a force for good for the U.S., and it has also led to great peace and prosperity for our people. This guy can't quantify it.
But let's just
And
say
we got to
he
get
is.
it. We got to get. If you're a Republican and you're a right-leaning person like me,
I'm
let's get
5
him out
degrees right leaning
so that
center.
we can get a normal person in there. We can get a normal or
But
a
here-
center, whatever you are.
here's the
Let's
thing
get
that's
this
very-
abnormal person out of there, so that we can get a normal person in there that will actually do normal things.
But if it comes down to this, and this is the thing that I really want to ask you, okay? Let's just say, because he has all this Republican support, I really believe that he's really attacking Biden because Biden could win and Elizabeth Warren can't. And I really believe that. And as a person who's a poker player who's able to read people, I know every time he's lying. I could read right through his lies. Now, even though I read the transcript of the Ukraine call, I definitely don't think it's impeachable. And I didn't even think it was that bad. But with that said, if the CIA and the intelligence community was in on every one of Obama's calls, every one of Bush's calls, what are we going to come up with? You see what I'm trying to say? It's like they've been out to get him since day one. So he's been on the defense for 3 years.
Because he's a jackass, but he's a jackass, though.
Yeah,
he could have built relationships with every one of those people. He could have engendered symmetrical loyalty with his staff. He's not capable of doing that.
My biggest flaw with President Trump is the fact that he doesn't realize he is the president of America, not the president of the Republicans. And I think this is his biggest downfall. And he's done nothing to unite the country. But
one of many problems that the guy has.
Right.
So I have to go.
Yeah,
but
I know
I
you do.
appreciate you bringing me on. I hope you'll invite me back.
I will.
You may not agree with me on certain things, but let me just say this to you. Okay, don't go after my wife. Okay, who's done nothing to you.
Yeah.
Just don't do that, okay?
You know,
if you're going to do that, you're going to have a problem with me. I'm an Italian kid from Long Island.
course.
Don't go after my mother. Don't go after my wife. Don't go after my sister or my daughter.
And the thing,
it's really that simple.
And listen,
okay. And so your
I agree
MAGA
with you.
supporters that are listening, your right-leaning supporters that are listening, if they think Trump was right to do that, then they need a psychiatrist.
No, I'm sure they don't. I'm
psychiatrist.
sure they don't. So listen, I'm going to send you a text with my personal number, and when you have a little bit more time, we could talk about a lot more things, because I know you're real busy and really I would really
Maybe you
like
can
to
teach me how to play poker. By the way, I've
Yeah.
never played goddamn
Yeah.
poker.
Oh shit, Matt Brooks.
I wear everything on my sleeve though, so I'll probably get my ass ripped off. You know what I mean?
Matt Brooks and me play all the time, and he's actually a pretty good poker player. He wants me to get him on Poker After Dark, so I'm probably going to do it. What we'll do is we'll get him on, me on, you on, and we'll have a big old fucking crazy ass.
All right, you got to teach me how to play first, though.
Of course I
I've never
would.
played the damn thing.
Listen,
all right, well, God bless you, man.
Yeah,
Thanks
and
for
I have
having me
respect for you, Anthony. I just wanted to hear your side. I wanted to kind of put my side on there, and
let your listeners know, and I'll repeat it again. I will be punching until he goes right through the ropes.
Okay.
Then I'll stop punching. Okay, and then I'm going to get out of politics and go back to what I like doing, which is making money for myself and my family. Because I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years, and I accidentally got into this stupid thing.
Right. Thank you so much, Anthony. And I'm going to shoot you a text.
All right, God bless.
Well, you too, buddy.
All right, Michael. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
The Mouthpiece.
Okay, everyone. I hope you enjoyed a very fascinating interview with Mr. Anthony the Mooch Scaramucci. And like he said, he's going to come back on the show later on. We'll hear what he has to say. And it gives you a point of view of everything of what's going on in the world today. Hope you enjoyed the interview, and we'll be back next week. Episode 24 of The Mouthpiece next week. Have a great week, everyone. Take care.
The Mouthpiece.